Welcome to Behind the Scenes with Music and the Spoken Word. I'm Derek Porter, and today we are pleased to have Ruth Todd, Chief Content Officer of Bonneville International. Ruth, thank you so very much for being with us this morning.
Oh, what a pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's so nice to be here.
Well, Ruth, we go back kind of a long ways now, in a way. A decade ago, I don't know, you and I sat next to each other on an airplane from Salt Lake City International Airport to Orlando, Florida.
Had never met.
We had never met, but we were seated next to each other, and we talked and we talked and we talked the entire length of that flight. Afterwards, I was abhorred and certain that you would never want to talk again. And yet, all these years later, we've become friends and have been able to continue that conversation. That was a fun experience for me and a fun memory as I think back to those years.
It was so fun. And I remember what an interesting gentleman. And I learned so much. And, you had traveled so many places and we talked about those things and different cultures and people. And I just thought, what a great guy and what an interesting conversation. And the trip went just like that.
It was the fastest trip to Orlando I've ever had.
It was.
Well, let's go back to the beginning. So you've been in here in your profession for a long time doing some, what I would consider some really, really big things. 25 or so years as a television news anchor and reporter in multiple locations throughout the United States.
Yes, I started here in Salt Lake City right out of college at BYU. And then I went to Phoenix for several years and then worked back in Washington, D.C. for several years. And then my husband's job actually brought us back to Salt Lake City, and then I spent the bulk of my broadcast career here at Salt Lake City at KSL.
And then during this time and after, taught broadcast journalism at BYU for a season.
Which was the best. Love the students at BYU. They were amazing. And now they're all over the country working in various areas of media, broadcasting, lots of things.
Then you served as a spokesperson and a member of the media team for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Is that correct? For how many years did that last?
I was there a few years and was on that media team, and it was great. It was during what was deemed the Mormon moment back then. It was when Mitt Romney was running for president, and there were just so many things going on in the world. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and so many of its initiatives were on the collective mind, especially in this country.
And then served as a senior VP of Global Public Affairs for a local Utah health and wellness company that had far international reach.
Right. We were in 50 countries around the world, so that was really a wonderful experience for me to be able to travel and see all of our operations in all those places and really learn a lot about international business.
And then, of course, now currently overseeing content strategy for KSL TV and as a member of Bonneville's 24 radio stations.
Yes.
As well. So
yes.
That's a big, big job.
It's so interesting, and it's always interesting to see the other side. So I was, behind the camera or in front of the camera, I guess, for all those years on air. But now to be thinking about the strategy behind what we put on the air. So that's been really a fun flip the script on me.
Well, and there's no shortage of things to be talking about today, of things that are on the air. I mean, there is news being made the world over.
Right.
And it's turned into a constant 24/7 news cycle too, it feels like. Have you seen a difference between your earliest days and today? The world seems to spin a bit faster.
Totally. And it's completely different. Some of the basic tenets of journalism and principles of journalism, those remain the same and constant. The way it's created, the way it's distributed, the way it's consumed is completely different. There were three places you used to go. When I started, there was ABC, CBS, and NBC. Yeah. And now there's this profusion of platforms and places and all kinds. And now I think it takes a sophisticated viewer, listener to decide, okay, who can I trust? Where do I go? There are only 24 hours in a day. How will I choose to get the information I need to be connected to my world, informed about my world, and so forth? So yes, the media is completely changed. And it's this. When we pull this, it's this in everybody's hand or pocket or purse or something. That's really changed it because it is with you everywhere you go. So yeah, it's changed a lot.
And through all that time as well, something that not everyone will know but should, is that for 18 years, you served as a host for Music in the Spoken Word, greeting the throngs of people that come every Sunday morning.
I did. I was called as a missionary for the church, not like an official missionary with a tag, but as a host for the Tabernacle Choir. and set apart. So it was a church calling, and did that for 18 years. I had a regular ward calling or other callings at the time, but this was kind of an extra fun, lucky for me calling that I got to do. I just felt so fortunate. The joke I used to make was, well, if you can't sing your way in or play your way in, I guess you have to talk your way in. So I got to be a host for, nearly 2 decades, and that was great.
Well, it was fun for me, and I've only been here for 1 year, but to get to share that stage with you a couple of times was a joy. And of course, even currently now, you have had other opportunities to serve the church in very meaningful ways that matter. And so it's really neat for me to get to see this incredible impact that you've had over such a long time. So what inspired you to get into this world of media? What did that look like as that young girl at BYU, and what began to put all of that into motion?
2 things. First of all, let me back up and just say I have been the fortunate beneficiary. It's not me that's had the impact, really. It's just been me being able to be a witness to, so many of these things that have gone on. So I've really been the fortunate, blessed one in that. Second of all, I think that even pre-BYU days, I think that I liked people's stories. Everybody has such an interesting story. I probably grilled you on the plane. I don't know. I hope I didn't. But I love learning about people's stories because where they came from, who they are, what their families were like, what makes them tick has always been interesting to me. So I remember trying to figure out what I should major in at BYU, and it was really hard. And I didn't pick a major for a long time because I was afraid I would pick the wrong one. Major FOMO before we knew what that was, right? I didn't want to go down the wrong path. Anyway, I finally got into journalism because of the stories, also because I liked being connected to my world. I liked reading the newspaper as a kid and knowing what was going on around the world. So I think that, and I liked writing. So the combination of all of those things, I think, just sort of converged, and I've started down that path, not knowing at all what that path would look like. And frankly, it didn't unfold how I planned it because life never does unfold as you planned it. But it can unfold in beautiful and lovely and stretching and growing ways. And I feel like that's happened.
Music and the spoken word, speaking about stories, really is kind of one long, big, continuous story with many, many chapters in between. Thousands of people who have now contributed to this program over the years. Many of the spoken words are stories about people and their experiences. And each week's broadcast invokes new stories in people's lives that matter. As you think about your time as a host, share with us what a host is and does for music and spoken word and what that looks like.
Okay, so what I was called to do as a host was go there on Sunday mornings, go to the broadcast, and then before the broadcast begins, we warm up the crowd. We invite the crowd to become part of this broadcast history because all of a sudden they're in the historic Tabernacle building. We're recording it. They're part of that history right with us in the room. So we tell them a little bit about the history of the Tabernacle, of the organ, of Henry Grow, who was the bridge builder who helped put all the trusses together to build the Tabernacle building itself. We talked to them about, we've talked to them through the years about different things. Sometimes the focus has been on the nearly 12,000 pipes, and the size of the pipes and all this. Sometimes it's been on the construction of, like I said, the tabernacle. Sometimes it's about the tabernacle choir itself when the orchestra was added to make it even better. And so we talk a little bit about that so that the people walking in the doors get a sense of place. They get a sense of the history that they're, part of, and then they'll also have an understanding of who this group is, that this group started in 1929. And of course, the best story of all is the story of one man holding a microphone.
Edward P. Kimball.
Edward P. Kimball holding the microphone.
The top of a 15-foot tall step ladder.
Exactly. He was on a ladder, and he held that microphone over that choir and broadcast out the first broadcast. And so then the story has built from there. And I just think to see the way it has rolled through the earth and filled the earth with its music is great. And so as a host, then you get to welcome people in person because let's face it, as good as digital technology is, and it's great, there's nothing like being in that building or in the conference center and hearing and seeing and feeling. So we invite them to be part of that family forevermore. And that's really what we do on Sunday mornings. And then I just get everybody warmed up and tell them they can't, make noise because we're in a broadcast studio and a few things like that. And just invite them to feel what we have felt and enjoy that music and then take it home with them and know where they can access it after.
Now, when I've watched you do this, and before my calling, even when I would bring guests to come, I would watch you walk up there, and this is preparing for a live television broadcast, and so there's a countdown clock, and you know how many seconds are remaining. But I know that you don't have a prompter either, and I watch you get up there and just seamlessly talk, and to be able to take us all on a journey. How does that work in your mind? How do you memorize what you're going to say or put it together? How do you help that be one fluid, not halting conversation, and to be able to lead a group of people in a set of time that changes, and when things are happening as you're getting ready for this countdown? What does that look and feel like?
I think the mechanics, the nuts and bolts, were things that I was able to practice and hone through all those years in broadcast television.
Okay.
So that part is not hard for me because I had so much practice. It's a skill that you acquire. You know, the first time you ever took a keyboarding or a typing test that was timed, you thought, how can I do this? And then pretty soon you didn't think about it anymore. Yeah. So anybody could learn what I learned. Anybody could do what I did, the nuts and bolts, if they had had enough practice. I'm sure of it. And so that's okay. That was the easy part for me. I think what was interesting is as I would go week to week, I would see what the program was like. What time of year was it? Mm-hmm. What would it be that I could say to the audience that would pull us into the same room, pull us into the same feel, so we were experiencing the choir and the orchestra together. And so maybe if it was a patriotic concert or something, we'd talk about this time of the year. Or if In the Bleak Midwinter was on the program that day, we'd talk about the weather because a lot of times it was in the bleak midwinter. So I think I tried to just personalize it and customize it for the music that would be being performed that day. And then also, mostly I wanted people to feel welcome because they are. And one of the most interesting things is we asked them, how many of you are here at Music and the Spoken Word for your very first time? After 18 years of watching all the weeks, it's amazing how many new people are there week after week for their first time. Now we have our regulars who come week out, every week, but mostly we have visitors. Yeah. And so we want them to know that they are welcome. They are wanted. We want them to share in the beauty and the peace that this music brings.
So as you think back over the 18 years that you spent doing this, how has the broadcast changed? What changes have you seen over those 18 years? And how is it different today versus when it was that you began?
When I started, I think it was 1999 that President Hinckley organized the orchestra as part.
Yep.
But they still didn't come to every single broadcast. When I started, sometimes I'd walk in and it would be the choir only. And then at some point in time, the orchestra came and was part of the broadcast every week. And I will say that is probably the biggest change and the most significant change that I noticed, because when the synergy of the musicians comes together with whether they're playing or singing, it just is spectacular. Yeah. And so that was a big change because I thought it up-leveled every single broadcast because it was music and the spoken word together with the orchestra and the choir and the spoken word. So that was really a big change. And then I think some of the changes are, of course, we got bigger crowds. We needed to move over to the conference center during Christmas or during the summer months. And so that kind of changed a little bit. And then depending on who the leadership of the choir was, some people really liked, give us some history, give these people a little bit of history. And then other people preferred, you know what, we want this to be an experience about how they feel while they're here. So sometimes you get a little bit of a different directive from whoever's in charge. And that's great too, because it keeps it fresh. And so I learned a lot from every one of the presidencies that I've worked under. They've been marvelous.
Do you know off the top of your head how many different presidencies you worked under?
Yes. Mac Christensen was the one who called me and set me apart.
Wow.
And then Ron Jarrett was after him and his group of leadership, and they were absolutely terrific as well. And had, a different feel, take. They just did things a little differently. But again, fresh, new, and I think that's good for everybody. And now President Levitt, Mike Levitt is there, and he's doing a great job with his presidency. And both President Clayton and President Porter, and they have a new vision, and that vision is bigger. So I think it's like a big relay race. Like they just passed the baton, and it keeps filling its mission.
Yeah. Each of those are incredible leaders that we're all familiar with and can see the impact that they've brought to the journey of the choir, and it's so impressive. Thousands and thousands of people have contributed to this, as we mentioned earlier, each and every single week. And I'm always amazed at the people and the longevity. People come and they stay, and they really don't leave. And that's in a positive sense. And I think it's because they get to be a part of something that is new and different every single week, and yet that feeling is hard to replicate.
It is. So you know that one of the requirements when you get in the choir is you have to be between the ages of 25, but once you hit 60, you are out, right? So you can only stay in the choir for 20 years. Up to 20 years. What I thought was fascinating is after many of the choir members had sung for 20 years, they would find a way to stay. Like they would be a photographer, or they would be on the props committee or on the production team or whatever. If they had those skill sets, they would find a way for the very reason you said, because there is something about being connected. And, I had people say to me, "Oh my gosh, you've done it for so many years. Are you ready to go?" And I said, "I'm ready to go when they need me to go. And other people should have this wonderful experience." I said that the whole way along. But I'll stay as long as you need me because of exactly what we're talking about. There is something that hits me every time I walk in and hear the strains of that organ, or those beautiful angelic voices, or those powerful voices, or those orchestra members and the way they play. It stops you in your track.
Yeah.
It really does. And so you always want that in your life. I feel like when you have it, then it's something that you desire to stay in your life.
I met a man just this past week who has served as an interpreter for the spoken words every single week, beginning with the very end of Richard L. Evans' time.
Oh, wow.
Through to Spencer Kennard, on to Lloyd Newell, and now here today with myself. And I couldn't believe that. This good, faithful man named Omar Canals, who is from Uruguay. Maybe
Fantastic.
You know Omar.
Yes, I do know Omar.
And it's incredible. And he's an example of many others that I have met that have been here for some as much as 40 years, contributing to this incredible program. So as a host each week, would you meet people in the audience? Would you meet the special guests? Tell us about some of the people you met, some of those experiences that you had with the guests, and who is it that comes to music in the spoken word?
Several questions in that. First of all, the world comes to music in the spoken word. If you come to the Tabernacle in the summer, and now it's over, the broadcast is over in the Conference Center, but if you come to Temple Square, you will see buses, big tour buses, lining all the way around Temple Square, because people stop there on Sunday mornings. And those people literally are from around the world, from different countries. And that's really fun. So I've met some of those people coming in and out of the broadcast. And then we have special guests that come. So it's really fun to see the special guests and how they are affected. And I can honestly tell you, I don't know one that has not been moved by their experience with the choir. They never go away quite the same, and they'll say that. And so a lot of times, like you think about the Christmas concerts, and then whoever's the guest on the Christmas concert will usually come to Music in the Spoken Word for a shortened concert. And then they're usually given a little memento to remind them of their time with the choir, a picture of them, whatever. And it is so fun. I will not forget. And of course, it's because I was in broadcasting, but when Tom Brokaw of NBC News came and was the voice, he was the speaking part of that Christmas concert that year. And it was about the greatest generation. And the other guest was Gail Halverson, the candy bomber who came. And it was so, I will never forget it. But Tom Brokaw and his wife were asked to come up, and they stood in front of the choir as the choir sang "God Be With You Till We Meet Again," which they sing to everybody as they leave. And I will never forget the tears that were streaming down the faces and the appreciation for what had just happened. And I think he said as much in some interviews after. But he is so, it's so normal. He is not unique in this, whether it was David McCullough or Kristen Chenoweth or many Broadway singers or Sting or James Taylor or any of these people that have come, Bryn Terfel, Sissel, people in the opera world, just the best of the best in these talent areas. They have all come and they've said there's something really special. I remember James Taylor, and I'm going to forget what song it was, but he said, "I've always wanted an incredible choir to back me up on this song. And he said, this is how I wrote it. This is how it was meant to be. And so it's really fun to see other people experience what I know happens to people week after week as they come to music and the spoken word.
Not only have you seen notable and recognizable names and faces come to this broadcast week after week, but you've also seen recognizable faces from the choir and the orchestra week after week after week. What impact has that had on you in watching the faces of hundreds of volunteers show up and have such spirit and determination?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said volunteer. People are just amazed that these musicians come for years every week and dedicate such a big portion of their life. I mean, they practice twice a week. They perform on the average of 75 times every year for no money at all, for the love of music, for the love of God and sharing music that is holy and sacred to them. So really, the stars of the show are the musicians, the people in the orchestra and the singers in the choir, and of course, the directors and the organists and all the people that make it happen. They are incredible, gifted musicians, and yet they're wonderful people underneath that. And so it's really fun to get to know some of the choir members, some of the orchestra members a little bit better and watch their dedication. But what you see week after week is love. They love this music. They love being there. They love one another. And it's just this incredible camaraderie and family. And you know that they're there for all of these really good, virtuous reasons. And they are seeking good things. And so they're there to share those good things. And I have been uplifted and inspired by these people for 18 years, on a regular basis. And they are just incredible people.
As you say that, I've heard Lloyd Newell say on multiple occasions, the star of music in the spoken word really is the choir. And of course, that could be extended to the orchestra
Totally.
and the like. Just this last week, I had opportunity to go and sit down in the home of a husband and wife who have been dealing with some serious, serious health challenges, and they can't get out of the house. And they're quite young. And each week, their respite from the world is to sit and watch music in the spoken word. And I marveled as I listened to them talk about the choir. And they said, we watch their faces every single week. And the husband said, I find myself praying for them. And just because I feel this connection to them. Mm. And then they show up the next week, and I thank heaven that they came again, that they were here again. And so sometimes you say, how do you make an impact when you're one of 360 or so on the stage? Well, you do that because you are one of this overwhelming chorus. But it touches the hearts of so many. And it was just an incredible thing for me to get to see and hear and feel and witness just last week in this couple's home. And it sounds like you've had a very similar experience to that, although looking the opposite way.
Yeah.
For so many years.
It's been such a great blessing in my life. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I will always remember are the handful of times when I come up and have kind of closed out the show, then you know that they always sing God Be With You as an anthem to the audience, wherever that audience is. God be with you till we meet again. And that's their signature goodbye song. And so picture this. I get to go up and I say, before we leave, the choir would like to sing you one last song. And then they are behind me. I don't go off stage. I turn around and like you, I get to sing it with them. Yeah. So, I technically have sung with the Tabernacle Choir, just in case you were wondering.
Yes.
But to have those voices behind you, there is a power and a majesty that is like nothing else that I've ever experienced. And those voices I just feel like they are heavenly. They are angelic. They are strong. They are purposeful. And you just don't forget that. You don't have to be standing with your back to them to feel it. You can be listening from the front, and from the audience. And I think people feel that, and that's why it resonates so much with so many people and audiences that come from all over the world.
So you think about the impact that a single choir member can make on the world, and we've both seen that and felt it, and I heard it even again just this last week. What is the role? What is the impact that media has on the world? Media in general, not just the choir in this broadcast, but what does media do for the world? The good, the bad, the ugly.
Well, it does all of those things, first of all. And what the media does is in a constant state of change and flux. So the way like we consume media today is vastly different than the early days. We talked about that. And what the media does in a like 30,000 foot type of level to me is it connects us, it informs us, it can celebrate things that we do, but it's something that pulls us together and helps us make sense and put context to the world around us.
So as you think about that, how is music in the spoken word unique in its efforts to be a contributor of media to the world? How does it bless the world week after week?
There are so many different kinds of media. Not all media blesses the world. Music in the spoken word is unique. When people ask me about music in the spoken word and what it does in the media, in that landscape, I would say several things. I would say it offers hope. The messages in the music, the messages in the spoken word that you and others have prepared for all these decades, that offers hope. I would say that this type of media offers peace. One of the scriptures that always comes to mind is from the Psalms, 42, I think verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. And I cannot tell you how many times I have felt that as I have walked into the tabernacle or walked into the conference center and heard the strains of that music, and it just sort of enters into your ears and your head first, but then into your heart. And so this media offers peace, hope, love. It just is, it offers rest from the weary world we live in. Our world is, like you said, it spins so fast all the time, and this slows it down and maybe allows people to open their hearts and open their minds so they can have other forces come in.
If you could invite one of your best friends to come and stand on that stage for a minute and do what you did for 18 years, what is it that you would hope or that you would expect that they personally would feel? Would it be those same feelings?
Absolutely. First of all, you cannot help when you are hearing, the strains of "Consider the lilies of the field," like gratitude for what we have. I feel gratitude so many times because of the messages of the songs. Or "There is sunshine in my soul today." I have felt that sunshine when I listen to those words. I would expect that anybody that walked up on that stage and hosted would have those feelings of appreciation and hope and peace, and kind of just a little bit of a shot in the arm that you go back out in the world and there's still good in the world, and you want to be part of perpetuating that good in the world. And this sacred, holy, uplifting music is a gift to the world. It has certainly been a gift to me in my life. And I know it's been a gift to the people that come because they tell me as we're walking in and walking out. Like I said, some people say, I have had people say to me, "This is my church. I come every week and sit in the back." And then I have other people say on the way out, "I've never experienced something quite like this." So it gives you all those things and more. It's just really a special little piece in the world. But the good news is it's available to everybody in the world.
So you've been in this media world for a long time, as we mentioned at the top of the show, and have contributed in wonderful and beautiful ways. You mentioned that this was a calling that was extended to you, meaning that you too were a volunteer and were not paid and had the opportunity for these 18 years to serve in this capacity. How has this changed you, unlike maybe other opportunities that you've had?
The music from the tabernacle and the orchestra is now a go-to. It is a default for me. I know that on certain days, times when I'm grappling, wrestling with a problem, a question, I can go to this music and it can kind of level set me spiritually, physically. It will calm me. So I think it can be, for me, it's been a tool to find that peace, to find a way to be still when I'm seeking for a little bit of respite from the crazy world. Life is busy for all of us. And I love that I know exactly where I can go to quiet the noise.
Ruth, thank you so much for being here with us today. I've learned a lot. I so enjoy always getting to spend time with you and talking and feeling and experiencing and having you take us along your journey, not only of the 18 years here on Temple Square with the Tabernacle Choir, but also throughout so much else of what you've experienced. Anything, last final thoughts that you would share with our listeners about the value of this program and or your experiences that you've had along the way.
Well, you're very generous, far too generous, actually. But I have been the lucky beneficiary, absolutely, to be able to have a ringside seat, a bird's eye view to what happens in the Tabernacle Choir and with the orchestra at Temple Square. This is, like I said, it is unique and beautiful in the world. And it crosses boundaries, religious boundaries, and geographic boundaries. And it is here as a gift to the world. And I love it for me, and I hope people will find it for them, because I know that, I listen to all genres of music. I love music, but this holds a very special place in my heart and in my life. And I think when people avail themselves of the hope and peace and goodness that comes out of this sacred, holy music performed by such incredible musicians, talented people that have, developed their skills over a lifetime, it changes their life. What I would tell people is, if you are looking for something that will bring hope, bring peace, bring light into your life, listen to this music. Create some space in your life, in your day, to let this music come and speak to your heart and speak to your soul and level set your life and your thinking and the way you approach the world. I think you'll be really happy. I know it's made such a difference for me.
Ruth, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's always my pleasure and my privilege to talk about music and the spoken word. What a great blessing it has been in my life.